This is part one of an Entity Framework course series, and today we are going to discuss a very important topic that every developer comes across sooner or later, and it is called as an ORM or Object Relational Mapping. If you ever worked with databases in .NET, Java, Python, or pretty much any programming language, you probably have used ORM without even realizing it. So let's understand what ORM really is, how it works, what are the pros and cons of using an ORM, so we can decide whether you should be using it or not in our project development. So first thing first, what is an ORM? An ORM stands for an object relational mapping. It is a technique that allows developer to interact with the database using objects and classes instead of writing a raw SQL query. In simple terms, ORM act as a bridge between your application code and your database. It convert your C Sharp or Java object into database table and rows and vice versa. So for example, let's say I'm having an application and that application is basically using a C Sharp as a programming language, and then it convert to a database which is a SQL server. Now we know that database only understand a one language and that is called as SQL. Database is not aware of what programming language you are using, but whenever we want to retrieve some data from database, we need to write a SQL statement. So developers used to write a SQL statement in order to connect to a database, and that is the place where an ORM comes into a picture. With the help of an ORM, you will write down your native C Sharp code, and then ORM will magically convert that C Sharp code into SQL Server or SQL language whenever it is executed against database side. So in simple terms, a developer will be only writing down a C Sharp code for it, and a ORM is converting that C Sharp code into a SQL Server automatically. In this way, we can focus more on the business logic part and less on writing a SQL queries. There are a couple of technologies, there are a couple of programming languages which use different ORM, and ORM is not limited to a .NET ecosystem itself. So for example, you can see in .NET ecosystem, I have an ORM name as EFCore and Dapper, whereas in Java, the ORM name is Hibernate. In Python, a separate ORM is Django and SQLAlchemy, whereas in Node.js, the ORM name is SQLize. Although these are different technologies and they have different ORM, but under the hood, they all perform in a similar way. Their role is to convert a native programming language into a database queries whenever it is executed against a database side. With the help of an ORM, I can have couple of advantages. It gives me a productivity boost. So developer used to write a less boilerplate code, and a CRUD operation with any language become super easy. Since we are writing a code into a C sharp language or any of the programming languages, and then it basically make it really easy for us to refactor it. My code will become more maintainable with the help of an ORM. ORM also performs security mechanism. So since you write down a query into a C sharp language or any other relevant programming language, you basically write it automatically prevents a SQL injection by using a parameterized query. ORM also supports lazy loading, first level of caching, and a query optimization. And with the help of this, you would be able to retrieve data faster from a database itself. One thing which also ORM gives is a database independence. Now, what exactly do we mean by the term database independence? Since I told you that an ORM or application connects to a SQL server, let's say tomorrow you want to connect to a different database altogether, maybe MySQL. Now, if you are not using an ORM, you must have written a store procedures or other things in order to interact with database. But since you're using an ORM, all your logic is inside your C# programming language. With a less amount of code changes, probably you have to change the connector, you would be able to connect the same C# application with a different database altogether. And with this, you can say a database independence is there with the help of an ORM, and you can switch from a SQL server to a PostgreSQL or MySQL with a minimal code change in order to understand with an ORM or to work with it. So in simple terms, we can say that if I am building a small or a medium sized application, an ORM can save a ton of time. But for a performance critical application, a mixing with an ORM and Hibernate SQL might be a better choice. Why so? Because with some advantages, an ORM also comes with some drawbacks. The first drawback is a performance overhead. So whenever an ORM is converting a native programming language into a SQL server, all the queries are not optimized properly. A ORM generates a query in a different format depending upon what kind of code you have written in the native programming language. So, in simple terms, we can say that ORM is not a replacement of a SQL. Within ORM, you would be able to write a SQL queries efficiently, but in order to optimize it, you need to understand what ORM does behind the scenes. For complex query as well, ORM can be a little bit messy because if your logic are into a joins and store procedure, writing a typical ORM query might be a problematic for you. And ORM also have a good learning curve. So different ORMs work in a different way, and you need to understand their syntaxes, you need to understand the configuration and so on. And last but not the least, debugging is also a pain in an ORM. So an ORM not always easy to debug because the way it generates a SQL, it will be difficult for you to debug the root cause of your error. So there are certain positive points, there are certain trade-offs of having an ORM, and being a developer, you need to analyze it, you need to understand whether we should go with it or not. Now, since it is related to .NET ecosystem, and we will be explaining EFCore in this. So all my sessions in this series will be targeting on Entity Framework core itself, and that too as a code first approach. So to start with an Entity Framework core, first of all, we need to do a system setup, and we need to install a .NET in our machine. You can install .NET 9 from the link that is there in this screen, and I can put in the description. Depending upon the operating system, you can download .NET. Since .NET is a cross-platform, you can either use Linux or Mac OS or even Windows to start your development journey. I will be using a Mac OS in this entire series, but whatever steps, whatever command I'm going to write it down, that is independent of my operating system. So you can use whatever you want. To start with, first of all, you need to download a .NET SDK from this website. Once a .NET SDK is downloaded, and if you have added the correct environment variables and path, then you have to open your terminal and then you write a command .NET. If you are getting an output similar to this output, that means a .NET is installed correctly in your application, in your machine itself. The next thing that you have to download is Entity Framework Core and its CLI. So you have to again go to a separate link and it says EFCore CLI. Once you download an EFCore CLI with the command .NET tool install global .NET EF, this EFCore tool will be installed globally in your system, and you would be able to write an entity framework queries as well. In order to understand whether an EFCore is installed or not, should be again going to your terminal window, and in the terminal window write down .NET EF. And if you are getting an output similar to the current output which I am getting on my screen, it means an EF is also installed correctly in your system itself. So once you have these two things are ready, then you are good to go with the development journey. You can either install Visual Studio 2022 from the official website whenever you want, or if you're using some other operating system like Linux or Mac OS, then feel free to download Rider because that is again one of the tool which is free for non-commercial use, and could be a part of your .NET. It could be a part of your project itself. So that is all about it. Now let's get started and understand how an entity framework core can be useful in writing a typical queries in .NET ecosystem. I will be using a .NET Core Web API, but you are free to use whatever you want. To start with .NET Core Web API, I will be using a command line itself, and the command for creating a new project in .NET Core ecosystem is .NET new. So once I write .NET new hyphen hyphen list, it will give me list of all the different templates that are installed in your current machine. And I'll be choosing .NET Core Web API and the language will be C Sharp. So I will be creating a new project with the command .NET new Web API. Then I want the name of the project as EFCore. So I'll give the name attribute or name parameter as EFCore. I also don't want to use a top level statement, so I'll write it down, use program main. So this will not include a top level statement in my generated API template. And I also want to go with a controller based API, not minimal API. So I'll write down use controllers. So I'll put this command in the description itself, but it's a default command to create a .NET Core Web API project. This command is applicable to all the operating systems. So even if you are working on Linux and Mac OS, as you can see right now, I'm not on Windows, I'm on Mac OS, and still this command is there for me. Press enter and this will default create a new EFCore project with the relevant files. You can navigate to this folder by command cd EFCore, and if I list down all the files available inside it, it will be a default .NET Core Web API project. Let's quickly open this project in Rider to discuss the different files that got generated by having this kind of template. So now you can see that I have opened up this project in Rudder itself, and it includes couple of folders and file. The first file is weatherforecast.cs, which is a default file in my .NET Core API project. And then I have a controller name as weather forecast controller. So in the next session, we will be going to further define a different DB context file and everything related to Entity Framework core in this session itself. But we will be using the same project. I will be also pushing the code in my GitHub repository in the end of this series. So this is it for this video. In this, we discussed the overall concept of an ORM and how it is useful in order to create an application. Let's jump into the next session to understand the concept of a DB context file and how to configure a DB context file in case of Entity Framework core. Thank you.